You are not serious people. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. A bunch of topics. We're going to be covering a lot of the succession things that happened last week, like Jeff Williams retiring this year, ex-CEO stepping down, and is Tim Cook going to be around for many more years? And is that a good or not so good thing? Apple's been nominated for 81 Emmys. The Google Pixel 10 launch event is announced. I've been eyeing that Fold 7. Wemo smart home devices are dead, and a ton more. This episode is brought to you by Bzigo and you, the members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, and joining me after what feels like years, Jason A10. How's it going, Jason?
It's good. It probably doesn't feel quite as long for our listeners because they only got the show like a day early. We recorded like 6 months early or something.
That's right. That episode.
Sarah's baby is actually 4 now. That's been the time we've recorded.
She did launch her studio setup thing, which is cool though, and that's out there. Do you know? I actually gave you a hint in the intro. Do you know where that quote "You are not serious people" is from?
I was pretty sure, and then you literally just said it. It's from Succession. I did watch Succession because there was a period of time when Inc. has this thing where they like to shows like that. They're like, oh, someone should follow it every week. They did this with Shark Tank and then like write about it and stuff. And so I started doing it, and I'm like, I just don't have the time in my life to commit to watching this all the time, because at that point, like I was like 3 seasons in or something like that, and I'm like, or this show was, and I'm like, I can't catch up on.
Yeah, I mean, it felt very apropos. Succession,
yeah,
Apple,
that's great.
X, all the things. So we're going to get into that. We have some 5-star review shout-outs, some very kind words from Jonathan Potovovich from USA. We're his favorite tech podcast. High praise. SC Moore NC from the USA. He said, what is Spaces? And I don't know if that's trolling us or if he genuinely wanted to know.
We don't have time. We don't have time for the trolls. We also don't have time for the... No, I'm just kidding.
We don't have time. Oh, I just realized for our personal tech segment, I want to talk about MyFitnessPal versus Food Nom because I've been using it. I asked the internet what's the best food tracking app. All right, so we're going to get to that in a personal tech. Stephen Patrick from the USA said lots of very nice words, even compared us to Renee Ritchie and Serenity Caldwell. If you're a real one, you remember the podcast that they did many years ago. It did feel like the review was written by ChatGPT, but that's fine because he must have prompted it with some right words. And Addie Bordeaux from the UK, this might be my favorite review yet. We gave us 5 stars and said, not a bad show, to be fair. The best review.
That's amazing. I have a question for you, Stephen.
Yes.
How far off do you think we are from the point at which saying likely ChatGPT written will become a slur? Like, that's like an insult.
I mean, yeah. Well, we'll get into that because there's a lot of AI news this week. And
all right.
I don't know. I think, well, anyway. All right, well, I'll save it. Listen, the biggest news of the week, it actually just dropped. I don't even know if you're aware, Jason. Apple launched a new emoji game in Apple News Plus.
I can't believe I missed it.
Big news. That's all I got for you there. So, new emoji game if you're an Apple News Plus subscriber. But no, the biggest news, actually the one I'm most excited about, is that there's going to be a new wireless charging standard, and it's going to be even faster.
News for you on this, but go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, well, I'm half joking that this is the biggest news of the week, but if you follow my channel, you know I'm obsessed with chargers. And if you listen to this podcast, you probably know, because Jason's like, you have too many chargers. Qi2.2. So right now we have Qi2 chargers. That's what a lot of the 3-in-1s you might get on Amazon from like Anker, from Basis, from Belkin. And there's MagSafe batteries that are Qi2. Many of them do not charge as fast or stay as cool as you would think, and not many seem to be actual Qi2. You know, there's the Anker Ultra Slim, which I still think is one of the best, but The Verge has been scouring the Wireless Power Consortium database of devices, which I frequently reference in my videos, and there's now Qi2.2 chargers being approved there in the database. And Qi2.2 is supposedly going to charge up to 25 watts. Qi2 regular right now is a maximum of 15 watts, rarely gets to that. So 25 watts, possibly even up to 50-watt wireless charging via the MagSafe. Ugreen has announced a MagSafe battery that's going to be Qi2.2. There's a bunch of other devices in the database right now, supposedly from Belkin and Basis and Anker and Aukey. And so I'm very excited for Qi2.2. Maybe faster wireless charging, maybe more efficient MagSafe battery packs, and yes, I will try every single one. So, what's your news?
Well, okay, so I told you about that Native Union charger that I got. That's real slim, and I like it a lot. Well, they have updated it to now
Oh.
support Qi2.
Oh, really?
I don't know that they've updated it to support Qi2.2 or whatever you just said, but I'm just trying to find the press release I got, and I don't know if they sent it to me because I bought one of these or if they sent it to me because they sent it to me because they wanted me to write about it. But if they send me another one, I will be happy to write about the new one. But that super slim one, the 5,000 milliamp hour battery it's made out of aluminum. I think you had one. No, I don't think it's that one. It's the
see, this is the 10,000
active power bank one. And I'm trying the one I found says it supports 15 watt. Is that the Qi2 thing?
15 watt is Qi2.
Yeah, so there you go. It supports wireless charging up to 15 watts. Now, I know that's not 50 watts, but also I would never stick something that charges. I mean, an iPhone can't charge wirelessly at 50 watts.
Well, it can't even charge wired at 50 watts. I believe it charges
I think that would be bad.
27 watts wired is like the fast charging.
Yeah.
This looks like, I'll put this one in the show notes. This is Qi2, 5,000 milliamp hours, and supposedly wireless charging up to 15 watts. See, I'll have to try this now. I have to test it.
And I'll just say that that's the classic one, but the active one is the thin one that I was telling you about, and that one, I love that charger. It's just, so that would be the first one there, the first top line. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's a good radio when I just point to that one up
No,
there.
I got it right here. The link will be in the show notes.
And so I really, really like that wireless battery pack because it is thinner than the Apple one, right? Like, and now that but Steven, your complaint was just that it doesn't charge very fast at all. It was like whatever, 7.5 watts or something.
Like this. So here's been my experience. Any MagSafe battery that's 5,000 milliamp hours, even when they claim Qi2 and 15 watts, it charges slow and it gets really hot. And I imagine it's just a physics thing because these battery packs are so thin. And so the only ones that I find that charge like 10 watts-ish or more are the 10,000 milliamp hour batteries. And those are the thicker ones that people don't prefer. But I do the test where I'll drain my phone down to like 2 or 3%. Then I put these battery packs on. I don't use my phone during the test. And you can see on the graphs, actually, if you go on your iPhone when you're charging and you have one of these battery packs on, you go to settings, battery, it will straight up give you a warning that this is a slow charger. And it will tell you that with a lot of these MagSafe battery packs. And so I'm curious if Qi2.2 will actually allow smaller 5,000 milliamp hour battery packs to charge faster and maybe not get as hot. So, see, this is the problem. I should not have put this right at the beginning because I can literally talk for this entire episode about stinking MagSafe batteries.
It's fine. There's nothing else to talk about today, really. I mean,
there's a ton. And I literally have so many right here. Oh, look, I have the Native Union one right here. This is the one you're talking about.
I was just looking for it. It's so thin, though.
Yeah, it's really thin.
I love it.
It's the coolest designed one. I'll give you that too. Like I like the little perforated back and stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. It's metal.
It's metal.
And the thing about the battery pack, I would rather the battery pack be getting a little bit warm than my phone, to be honest. If it's dissipating heat, I like that it has this metal. Basically, has a heat sink on the outside. Like it's just dissipating that heat. Yeah. Using passive cooling.
And I'm going to give Native Union props because they used to just kind of be like the Best Buy brand that was like pretty like generic or whatever. And they're really stepping it up with like nice quality stuff, like chargers. And they make 2- and 3-in-1 chargers now too that look cool.
Yeah. So, and I mean, they elevate the brand by putting the word Paris underneath it. I don't know why it says Paris, but I think that
I
think that if you put Paris, because my Delcy suitcase also says Paris on it.
Mine does too.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Isn't the Delcy suitcase like one of the best ones? Like just
by
best
far.
Value? Yeah, by far. That's
don't even respond to this because I know that you're all going to think Toomey is the answer or Samsonite or whatever, Rimowa or whatever. But Delcy is by far the best.
Delcy is it. That says Paris. They should Native Union should just put random like Milan or Nice. They should just do random cities on their battery packs. Now, one other thing before we get to some of the Succession news, back to the opening quote, OpenAI posted this on X just yesterday, and they have a live stream today at 1 p.m. Eastern, so it's going to be after this episode publishes. But maybe we can pontificate what this could mean. There's been a lot of AI browser stuff coming out recently. Perplexity's Comet browser is out for like invites. It's not publicly available, but if you get an invite, you can use that. Do you think this is already maybe the OpenAI browser announcement, or might this be something else? There's a little mouse moving around in this video that they posted on X.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
Or Yeah, I
They're
have
launching
no
an
idea.
actual mouse, an actual wireless
That's
mouse.
probably what it is. Maybe that's what Johnny Ive has been working on. That is the
Oh,
AI
there it is.
device is a mouse.
It's
I
going to
mean,
look just like the Magic Mouse,
I was
but the
gonna
port's
say-
going to be on the front.
No, 0% chance. It's gonna look like you're. I don't even know, but yeah.
If it wirelessly charged, that'd be cool. If I had a Magic Mouse but wirelessly charged. Anyway, do you think it's the browser? What's the over under on this being the browser today?
What's the over under? I don't actually know how to figure out what that means in this context, but
More
I
or
think
less likely.
What percent? Yeah. Based on that video that we're looking at, I would say it's probably a 57% chance that it's a browser. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's just because there's a mouse. We don't have to do too much tea leaf reading, but if it was like a new model, which typically that's what a lot of OpenAI announcements are, it's like we have a new model and it does this. But to have like a little mouse moving around as though you're clicking on something like you would do in a web browser, I don't know. It feels pretty browsery.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the way the mouse is moving around, it looks like a very up-resed version of an Atari Pong game or something. Like it's just sliding around. But
People were really leading the tea leaves, and like they basically did a connect the dots to where the mouse was pointing, and there's a shape that gets drawn. I don't know what kind of sorcery it is to I don't know what the shape was.
has there ever been a point in your life where you had time to do that kind of thing, where you just sit and look at these announcements and you're like, let me plot the points of where the mouse cursor is? It's like,
Oh, here it is. I don't know. I'll show you, and then maybe you guys will have an hour after this episode publishes to figure out if it's legit. These are the points, I guess. I don't know what that means. So
I don't know that it means anything.
That looks like the total random constellation. I'll put
does
that as
really
the
look like
chapter art.
that,
So if you're listening, you can wonder along.
Is that like the Big Dipper? Is that Ursa Major? Maybe that's the name of the browser, Ursa Major.
Oh,
It's definitely not.
no,
but
I bet you. Or it could be Orion.
Orion. But
that doesn't
there's
really
already
work
some
out.
things that are called Orion.
Oh, that is true. Our friends at Luke's Camera have the Orion app, where you can use your iPad as like a HDMI display. So
Doesn't Meta have an Orion something? I don't know.
the glasses.
Yeah.
That's the code name for the glasses. Yeah, that is true.
Okay, here's a question though.
Yeah,
Would you? We debated Brave versus Safari. Would you use an OpenAI browser?
Listen, I'm all in on Safari. I use Brave for Riverside, but I'm getting pulled in by the hype. And I actually texted someone who said they had Perplexity invites, and I'm going to try the Perplexity one. And when the OpenAI browser launches, I'm going to try it on day one. I am very curious. I am so sick of seeing the Google Open in Browser pop-up, which I posted on social media, and thousands of people can identify that it's. I said every time someone sees this pop-up, an angel loses its wings, which is accurate.
I wrote about that, Steve.
I know you did a whole article about it.
It made me so mad. I was like, forget it, Google.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try it because I'm curious. I've also been doing more like I want to find something on this website or web page, and Command F either may give me too few or too many results. And if an OpenAI browser would basically let me type in a chatbot and say, "Hey, find this on this page," or "Is this on this page?" and it just does it for me, I think I would do that. So I'm gonna try it. How about you?
I will definitely try it. I probably won't switch because I already use Brave with ChatGPT as the default search engine. So like what?
You can use it as default. I didn't know you.
You knew that. We talked about it.
I know
also
it's
wrote
hard. I
about
just never changed it. I never changed it.
But I mean, I guess there's a difference if like, I don't know, is this because like Edge has that with Bing, whatever their thing is called, where it's like, but I'm just saying like he has a sidebar where you can like ask, if you're looking at a web page that has financial stuff on it, you can be like, Google has Gemini built into like your Google Sheets. You can ask it to tell you stuff about it. I mean, that kind of thing would be super interesting because right now I end up screenshotting it and dumping it into ChatGPT. So if they had a browser, maybe I would only use it for that kind of thing. Like for dedicated purposes. I don't think I would just use it I definitely would not use it to like check my bank account or my email.
Yeah, that's true. No, I wouldn't do that.
No way.
I wouldn't move on that. All right, we have to catch up on some news that happened after we recorded last week. One, Linda Yaccarino, the previous CEO of X, stepped down. She's now the ex-CEO. No succession plan in place. There was no one announced to be taking over for her. She lasted 2 years in the role, and Elon Musk had a very...
Thank you for your contributions.
He said, thank you for that was his whole thank you. So I feel like, I mean, Elon Musk has just got to be like acting as shadow CEO, right? I mean, there's probably.
No, Elon Musk was actually acting as CEO.
Fair,
because Linda Yaccarino's job was basically to get back the advertisers, right?
Right.
But they needed, the only way that advertisers were going to give consideration to advertising on X again is if somebody other than Elon Musk was the CEO. So she had to right, they needed to give her that credibility and that sort of a position. If they just called her the chief revenue officer, I don't think it would have gone the same direction. It turns out that the way they got the advertisers back is they just threatened to sue them for violating First Amendment rights or something for not giving them money. Like literally that's what they've been doing. So
yeah, I've also, well, I don't know if I want to talk about this for a long time, but I do wonder too if
what he's saying is he has thoughts, but he would prefer that none of you get mad at him for having them.
No, not about this in particular, but I've just been seeing a lot more Grok, like people. I've seen more people talking about Grok, obviously on X and not really any place else. But you know, there was the news earlier this week where there's like a little AI digital something or other that's in Grok, and I'm like, AI companions, and both Kylie Robertson at Wired, who's previously at The Verge, and then Casey Newton, they wrote about it, talking about it's a little weird, and I was curious because someone posted on X, Gling.ai, one of the apps I use for video editing. They had this thread and they were talking about how Grok 4 is really good at video ideas and title and description generation for YouTube. And I was like, I don't use any other chatbot except for ChatGPT. Like I'd have all my workflows through ChatGPT, mostly because it works with shortcuts and that's how I do a lot of the workflows. But I was like, if Grok 4 is that good, and they had like screenshots of different prompts, and I was like, okay, it looks really good. Let me try it. Turns out Grok 4, which is like the good one, you have to pay $30 a month for access to that. So it does seem like maybe they're trying to pivot more towards that. But also, I just see a lot of threads on X now where there'll be something posted that is skeptical whether it's true or not. And then right under it, the first reply, someone mentions at Grok, and they're like, is this true? And I guess that's something that you can do on X. You can just prompt Grok directly in a thread by mentioning it, and then you'll see, you know, the answer a lot of times underneath it. So I don't know. I just tangentially related. I think it's interesting. I don't know if it's good or not because I don't use Grok at all, and I didn't pay for it. So
yeah, and I've tried to use Grok, and every time I do, it tries to sell me on Twitter's premium subscription or something. I'm like, nah, I'm fine.
Yeah, so I don't know. All that to say, I don't. Who knows what X is? Who knows what X be doing? I did see a bunch of creators on Threads saying that they're now monetized, which I am not still, and I'm just bitter about that.
You're just putting that out there into the world, just in case anyone's listening.
Just throwing that out there. I mean, I do a lot of good work on there. Some of my best writings there on Threads. I'm just kidding. Just throwing that out. All right, another Succession thing, and this was big news after we recorded last week. Jeff Williams, Apple's COO, Chief Operating Officer, is retiring after 27 years at the company. There was talk about him being the successor to Tim Cook several years ago. Obviously, that is not the case. He's going to be replaced by Sadiq Khan, which was one of the vice presidents of the company. Sadiq Khan has been at Apple for 30 plus years or something like that also. So long-standing, Apple high-ranking official. But interesting that he's going. Now there was some talk about, who might be the successor to Tim Cook. John Turnus, who you've seen in a lot of Apple keynotes talking about the M1 Max and stuff like that, possibility. But this brought up the whole, is Tim Cook retiring? When is that going to happen? And there was Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg saying that there's actually no internal signs of Cook preparing to retire, comparing him to some other longstanding up-in-age CEOs like Bob Iger, the 74-year-old CEO of Disney, which Tim Cook is 65.
He turned 65 in November, it says.
Tim Cook is 65. Then JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, 69 years old. And that he might be at Apple, Tim Cook, for years to come, and no succession plan in place. And you had a great article about him and AI, which we'll talk about. But I just want to reference the interview he did with Dua Lipa, which was the one time he actually mentioned when he might retire. And this interview was posted almost 2 years ago. It was in November 2023. And in this interview, which is, I think, one of the few interviews he's done like this, where it's actually like a podcast, you see the video, and he's very supposedly candid, that he would be retiring in the next 10 years. He said that in this interview, that sometime in the next 10 years he would retire, which means 8 years from now. But that was 2 years ago, and Jeff Williams was still COO, so maybe that has changed, and maybe he'll be there for a long time, and maybe that'll be good, maybe it won't be so good, I don't know. But you had a great article today talking about how he might be affecting Apple's AI game. And
well, let me say something about, I think that Tim Cook's specific, Tim Cook did not say, I'm going to retire in the next 10 years. He was asked about it, and I think he said something like, will I still be here in 10 years? Probably not. Right? I mean, everyone interpreted that as like, oh, Tim Cook is announcing that he's retiring in the next 10 years. But I think he's like, 10 years is a really long time, and I don't see myself still doing this in 10 years. But and that might seem like the same thing, but I actually think it's an important distinction because what it means is, I mean, the way he phrased it certainly gives the impression that there isn't really an imminent plan for him to leave, but also he doesn't plan to stay forever. Right. Okay. Well, so no. But I mean, like he is imagining that there is an end in sight, and he believes that over under is less than 10 years from now. So like that is an important thing. And everyone automatically starts to think about, okay, well, if the most obvious successor is Jeff Williams, who is only a few years younger than Tim Cook, and in 10 years would be older than Tim Cook is now, he has to be thinking of retiring sooner. So because it doesn't make any sense to replace Tim Cook in 3 years with a CEO who's older than he is now. Like, right. Like that kind of, it's like, you want somebody who's younger. And so then people start thinking like, okay, well, John Turnus might be the next CEO. I don't really know for sure if that's just speculation. I mean, John Turnus, he seems like a real gregarious, charismatic guy. Sure. Does he have any, maybe he does. So don't get me like, does he have any, the things that CEOs need to do is very different than the head of hardware engineering, like very different, right? Even Steve Jobs was not the head of hardware engineering, right? Like he was not, that was not his thing. He was like visionary. Cook is an operations person. If we start to see John Turnus in the next couple of years take on different types of roles as well, that would, but like the thing a CEO does most publicly besides talk at the keynote events is talk to investors, right? Talk to other people.
But here's what I will, this is the other part of the conversation is, and we've talked about it before in relation to like Airbnb and Brian Chesky and founder mode. Does the next Apple CEO need to be a product person? And I think yes, because Steve Jobs was the product person and his strength was to be the visionary, to see the next device, to, I think, famously, he alluded to, like, you need to tell the customer what they want, basically. No one knew what, wanted an iPod until it existed, and then they realized. And just the idea of 1,000 songs in your pocket, the value was immediately understandable by people. Like, here's the thing, 1,000 songs in your pocket.
And this was at a time when 1,000 songs was a lot of songs because you had to actually buy them on hard, like physical media.
Right,
so that was like more songs than most people were going to be putting on it.
Yeah. And I was trying to explain to someone the other day about, what is different about Apple's presentations now, because they knew I went to Dub, and I was explaining like they just do video, they just play a video now. And I was recalling some of the Steve Jobs announcements, and like when you think back to the iPad, that entire keynote was Jobs. It was just Jobs on stage. He announced it. He slammed netbooks in that keynote. And then he just sat in a chair and scrolled the New York Times on the iPad.
Yeah.
Like, that's just all he did. Yet, he was still charismatic. He was able to explain why someone will love this, what it's for, why it's the next thing. And and obviously Tim Cook is extremely talented looking at the profitability of Apple, although NVIDIA has far surpassed, now at $4 trillion market cap, almost $1 trillion more than Apple. But I think for the next phase of Apple, however long that is, and with the rise of AI, and this alludes to your article, that I think there needs to be more of a product person at the helm. Even if it's someone with a mix of skills, I think that has to be one of the big ones. One that is I don't know, forward thinking and I don't know, thinking about what is next in technology, even what is more interesting. Like I had on our list to talk about like the Fold 7, because I've never tried a folded phone. I know you have had some in the past, but I'm looking at these videos of the Samsung, whatever the terrible name is, the Samsung Galaxy Fold 7 Ultimate. And it looks so cool. And I'm like, it's thin enough now. This seems like an actual new, maybe even useful form factor. And there's lots of rumors that Apple might do a folding phone or whatever. But I'm like, man, this feels like something different. This feels new, and there's a lot of excitement on social media about it. And I'm like, that needs to be part of Apple's oeuvre right now of what it feels like when you think of Apple. Like right now when I think of Apple, I don't think they're trying something new, they're doing something vastly different, because they've played it safe for a lot of years, I feel like. But I don't know.
Okay, so here's the thing. You give me an idea, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to work this into an article, so I'll just say it here now.
Okay, good.
But I am going to make a note just in case. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, my question is, and I want you to answer this in a second, what do you mean when you say Apple needs a product person? What is a product person? And let me just be clear about why I'm pushing back on that. I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but people often say, because, Steve Jobs, he was a product person. No, Steve Jobs was singular. Like Steve Jobs, there will never be another Steve Jobs, because of the moment he was in, the vision he had at the time that he had it, the company he built around him. You can't. It would be like if you and I were running a record label, and we've been signing all of these like bands and all this stuff, and we're like, you know what we really need? We need another Taylor Swift. It's like, no, there is no other Taylor Swift. You cannot. There are plenty of successful female artists, like, don't get me wrong, but Taylor Swift is singular. You're never going to just manufacture someone else who's going to have the Eras tour. That's going to, somebody may surpass it someday, but it isn't going to be because a bunch of people sat in a room and are like, we need a Taylor Swift so we can have an Eras tour. Like, that's not how you get to that point. And so anyone who is thinking like that Apple needs a product person, because look at the stuff that they did. Apple has been exponentially more successful post Steve Jobs than it was with Steve Jobs, but most of it is because the culture of Steve Jobs has extended through, and Tim Cook has been a guardian of that. I think this is underrated, the extent to which Tim Cook has attempted to preserve the culture and the ethos of Apple that was put in place by Steve Jobs. He has not advanced that in any directions differently necessarily, other than maybe the services business. I think you can, right, which is just purely like print money, cash checks. But I don't know that. I think it's a binary thing. It's like, do we have a product person or an operations money person? I think we need whatever the third thing is for Apple, because it's going to be entering a very different phase. There was a great conversation on Upgrade this week between Mike Hurley and Jason Snell, talking about this same kind of a topic. And just the idea that, like, I don't know that what Apple needs next is John Turnus a product person? I mean, he's a hardware engineer, but that's not what Steve Jobs was. That's not what, I think it also goes back to, like, there was this partnership between Steve Jobs and the people, like, most of the people still in the senior leadership are like Steve Jobs lieutenants.
Right. But I think it was that relationship with Steve Jobs and Johnny Ive that interestingly created some of
and Steve Jobs and Tim Cook. Steve Jobs and Johnny Ive would have not been able to do the iPhone had Tim Cook not that I was reading the Apple in China book. Like, it's underrated the extent to which Apple does not exist without that linchpin piece.
So when I say a product person, I understand that Steve Jobs did not invent the iPhone out of whole cloth. It's not like he came out of or walked into a boardroom and said, here's the iPhone. No, I just need someone to physically make it. He's not there was a team of people behind all of that. But when I say a product person, I think someone who has a better finger on the pulse of how people use technology and how people will use their products in the future, and how people will use their products that are not out yet. And I think of examples of, like, in the Creative Selection book by Ken Kosienda, who developed the keyboard on the iPhone and iPad, or one of the members of that team. And some of the other stories you hear about Steve Jobs is that Steve Jobs would be presented something, like when Ken Kosienda was working on the iPad virtual touch keyboard. they would show Steve Jobs the keyboard. He would use it for a little while, not say anything for a while, and then say something like, "This is out of place." Or, the one specific story, Ken Cassiano had like 2 different versions of the keyboard, or like keys had this kind of like dual function. And Steve Jobs was like, "That's too confusing. Like, choose one or the other." But for users, it needs to be one or the other. And so I think that kind of intuition for how normal people will interact with technology, because that's something even I would struggle with, because when it comes to how do normal people use technology, and normal I mean like non-nerds, sometimes it's difficult to extrapolate. Like, how is someone on their iPhone, if I tell them swipe down to Control Center, do they know what that means? Like, do they know
what is Spaces?
Or what is Spaces? And so it feels like Steve Jobs, while he was singular, had a skill of knowing how people would use and do use technology, and were able to make products that fit into that, but also open the doors to like new use cases that show someone that this is a valuable thing. And Tim Cook has largely made probably a lot of decisions on Apple Watch since it's come out, and you could say like, yeah, I think that he has intuitively focused more on the fitness features, which has become a major part of the Apple Watch. But when I say product person, I think someone who can understand outside of the Apple bubble, how will this product, how will this software update, how will this feature, how will people interact with this in the real world, so we can make it the most valuable, the most useful. And I feel like we've talked about the chat bots and how Apple has refused to make one. You hear Craig Federighi and Greg Joswiak in these interviews saying like, well, nobody wants really a chat bot. What they want is this. And it's like, well, that feels like they don't have a finger on the pulse, because a lot of people are using AI chatbots and they totally miss that. And so that's an example, I think, where I don't like doing this, but like, would Steve Jobs have made an Apple Intelligence chatbot? I don't know, but I feel like he would have had, and maybe someone else who's more product focused would have thought, this is a product that people want and actually use, and so we need to be there as well, or we need to figure out how to improve on it. So I guess that's what I mean.
And I don't think, okay, so there's a couple things. This is actually a good conversation.
Yeah,
I didn't think we were going to spend this much time, but I actually really like this.
Yeah.
Because one, I don't think we've seen any evidence at all that that's John Turnus. Like, he's a hardware engineer.
No.
He is not the product designer person, right? There is a hardware design. Is it Molly? I can't think of what their name is at the moment, but like, it's the opposite to Alan Dye, right? He's the human user interface, whatever. And there's another person who's a hardware design person. It's the person whoever replaced Evans Hankey, right? Like, so yeah. I feel like there is someone at Apple, but they're not anywhere near the the top of the senior leader. They're not even on the leadership page, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So
okay, well, I was on the leadership page.
No, there's nobody on the leadership page related to design at all. Like, that's not even a thing which is a weird thing at Apple. Like, who is this person?
Not even Alan Dye. He's not even on here either.
He's not even an SVP. I think he's just a VP of human interface design or whatever. Right. So what I'm trying to say, though, is like, first of all, Apple is a $3 trillion company. So you are not going to put someone in charge of it who is not experienced at running like, those skills are just different at this point, right? When Steve Jobs was running Apple, it was like a $300 billion company, and he had Tim Cook. It's just a very, very different thing. And the phase at which Steve Jobs was the most influential was when it was going from zero to that, right? And so there was so much more room. And this is the analogy. I don't know if this bears out, but I'm just going to say it. It's like you're an explorer and you come across, there's all of this land. And Steve Jobs was incredible. It'd be like, the post office goes over there, and the house should go over there, and the whatever goes. And what we're saying to Tim Cook is like, why aren't you building more different kinds of buildings? And so at some point, the question is like, what if there's just actually no more land? Now, I don't think we're at like the end game of technology, but the thing is, the iPhone and the watch were pretty much unfarmed ground or whatever. I'm mixing some metaphors here, right? There was a bunch of bad smartphones. But the iPhone came along at a time when a couple of things suddenly became possible. Like the screens, mobile internet was fast enough. Like, you couldn't have had the iPhone sooner than that, right? Like, you just couldn't. And the
first one didn't have 3G internet. So
and the mobile internet sucked on the first one anyway.
Yeah,
we were barely on that point. But we're at a very different place now, and people are like really mad. They're like, why hasn't Tim Cook made anything new? And here's the thing, like, the Apple Watch and AirPods are actually phenomenal. The AirPods on their own would be like a Fortune 300 company. Just the AirPods.
But that is not a huge innovation breakthrough. Like wireless headphones as a category.
Wait. At the time they were. Every wireless headphone had a wire between the headphones at the time.
But Bluetooth headsets existed for 10 years before that.
But they weren't. But hold on. Like it is actually they were a huge breakthrough because no one else had figured out how to put two separate things in your ears and keep them in sync. That was a much bigger accomplishment than people realize. And there's a reason that you see AirPods everywhere. And then they've elevated that, like with the noise cancellation, they elevated it now with the hearing aid assistance and stuff like that. Right. So I agree with you, but that's because things you put in your ear were not nearly as massive of a computing platform as the screen you hold in your hand. So but AirPods is like $30 billion. It's like on its own, it's bigger than eBay. I don't know. That's not true.
Well, and one other point I wanted to make, because you were saying, Steve Jobs excelled in those times where it was not a valuable company and then made it a valuable company. One of the things he did during those times was identify what of the product line at Apple was not helping, basically. And, one of the big things he did was simplify the product offerings so that they could focus on the products that make the biggest difference, whether it was the iMac and then the iPod and things like that. And so a product person, another aspect, I think, is someone who can say, what are the products that we need to focus on, or the product categories. For instance, maybe, I know that maybe this is not great, but maybe it's time that the Mac Pro not be a focus of what Apple is doing, just because of the nature of computing and AI, and it's a very whatever. And maybe they still sell it or whatever, but development and the car, like that was a thing that probably should have stopped being worked on years before Apple actually stopped. And that was something, again, Steve Jobs, maybe he would have made the call much earlier to say, this is a dead end. This is not, and this might be like kind of the pie in the sky nostalgia, but like at the end of every keynote, Steve Jobs would be like, what is Apple? We're at the intersection of liberal arts and technology. And he would always talk about how what we make are tools to help people be creative. We want to help people make other things. It's a very aspirational vision, which is, I feel like, I don't know, maybe not something you hear as much from Apple anymore, like that core vision is maybe a little more nebulous now. And I don't know, I feel like whenever Steve Jobs said it, you believed it, and the products reflected that, whether it was GarageBand or iMovie or whatever. And that, I don't know, it feels a little lost. And so a product guy who is focused back on, okay, we're going to make products that do X, Y, and Z. We want to have the products that make AI the most accessible to the most people and are the easiest to use. Because honestly, like another thing Apple has been great at is making something that's either difficult or a complex that's hard or technology that's inaccessible useful for more people. Like GarageBand and iMovie were incredible tools and still are, but like I use those tools for years to record concerts, and that was my first foray into video editing. And it was because those pieces of software were accessible. Like the design of those products, how they functioned, it made it accessible to me and to a whole generation of people. And so like that mindset of how do these products affect people? How can people use these? I think that's what we need from the next person.
But all of those things were things that existed that were solved in really complicated ways, and they were able to, like, what is left for that? I mean, calendar invites, I guess. Like, is that where we're at? Like,
that's why there needs, I mean, we're speaking as though this person exists somewhere, but that the person is enough of a forward thinker that they know the answer to that question, because I don't, which is why I guess I won't be the next CEO.
But I mean, you knew that movie editing existed. We knew that audio editing existed, and Apple made that accessible. I'm curious, like literally, what are the things that are not accessible to people today that are on the equivalent of like GarageBand music versus Avid systems, or
I mean, using AI in an effective way. Like there are thousands of companies whose whole business is packaging OpenAI's API in different ways to make it more accessible, whether it's repurposing video or whether it's summarizing things. Like there's whole businesses just based on that, just basically making prompts to ChatGPT, which is a very like computery language type thing. And so it almost feels like, man, Apple could step in and say, here are these powerful AI tools, but in an accessible way. Because like my family, people I know personally, they're not using ChatGPT. Like they just like they don't know, like how would it even integrate into their workflow? But if Apple had instead made the decision to integrate into Safari a large language model where when someone's looking at a recipe web page, they can just tap a button, and in addition to reader and content blockers, it had just give me the recipe. Like if they had made it that level, that I feel like is a product decision that someone could have made that would have changed Apple's relationship with AI, and I think their positioning in that landscape today. But
well, and interestingly, the Mac is an exception because the Mac was like the first accessible. Well, no, actually, it's not an exception. Okay, I think the first smartphone was technically like, or the first cell phones were like 1994-ish or so. Like, you know, the first smartphones were, there's IBM had something in like 1994 that they called a smartphone. The iPhone was 23 years later or whatever, right? Or no, 13 years later, 2007. Right, I can't do math. It's too early for me. So
I just remember StarTech smartphones is the first memory I had.
Well, okay, and the Apple Watch was not the first smartwatch, right? AirPods were, like you said, not the first Bluetooth thing. I did just want to say about AirPods. Interesting stat. I don't know exactly because Apple doesn't tell you exactly how much AirPods revenue is, but it's somewhere between like $20-25 billion, right? Lots of money just on AirPods.
A lot of money.
They're estimated by the end of like 2026 to be as much as $100 billion, or like the next 3 or 4 years, which would be roughly 10 to 12 years after AirPods came out. Do you know how long it took for the iPhone to go from 0 to $100 billion a year?
Oh, 12 years.
10 years. Like, so same timeline.
Same timeline, yeah.
Insane. We don't think about that. But the AirPods are an insane thing. So I'm just saying, like, they didn't feel as transformational as the iPhone, but that's because the iPhone is Taylor Swift. It's singular. It's like it was the perfect form factor. So like the idea that we penalize the current Apple for not coming up with the next, there just might not be any more land. There may not be another iPhone.
I want to get you to get more into your article because maybe AI is that thing.
Okay,
that they are missing the boat on.
But on the smartphone, the Bluetooth headphones, the Mac timeline, Apple has like 30 years to figure out AI.
I don't know. We don't know if it's the same timeline though. Like that's
right. But all
assuming.
I'm saying is the things Apple has done the best came 20 years in. So audio mixing, GarageBand had been around for what? A long time. Like Beatles were recording. Like they were recording music a long time ago. But even on a computer interface. So what I'm trying to say is like Apple has revolutionized mature industries, and AI is definitely not a mature industry. So what as you were talking, it actually made me less surprised that Apple doesn't know what to do, because what they do is they see the mature version of it and they're like, you guys, this could be so much easier, but it's hard. And that was Steve Jobs' gift. Steve Jobs didn't invent the iPhone out of whole cloth, be like, there's no cell phones. What if there was cell phones? No, I mean, they didn't build a wireless network, right? All of that had to exist. Right. And then they're like, what if we just made it easier? And so AI, I think, don't get me wrong, Apple has to have a better solution, but it actually leads right into my article. I don't think Apple should be spending any effort on trying to build AI.
Okay, well, we have to get to that. The last thing I'll say before, because we have a sponsor, and now it's way past the midway point. No, this is great. I think one of the best product people right now is the guy in the basement, Johnny Sarugi, making the M chips. Like, he is 100% an engineer, 100% a hardware guy. But when you think of how people interact with products, he is making chips, the whole M series of chips, where the normal people never has to think about a chip again. That feels like someone who made a product that is tailored to the general public. It's like, you know what? Now you can buy any M series Mac chip and you know it's going to be powerful enough for whatever you want.
Okay, there are actually two product people.
Okay.
Neither of them work at Apple, and neither of them will ever be CEO of Apple. And now I'm not comparing either of these people to Steve Jobs, but they are two people in the tech industry that I can think of off the top of my head.
If you say Brian Chesky, I'm ending this call.
I'm not going to say Brian Chesky. Although Brian Chesky's a lot closer to Steve Jobs than John Turnus, because he's a designer.
Yeah.
That's not who I was going to say.
That's the Airbnb
One of them
CEO.
I'm not going to say because he's controversial, right? He has plenty of companies to run, and I'm not advocating he should ever be CEO of Apple, but
Right.
he is the type of person who's like, what if we just made it electric? what if we just took away the steering wheel and the all the everything?
Sure.
Okay, but it does fit that. Let's just be honest. That is the mindset you're talking about. The other one is Panos Panay. You know, he used to be at Microsoft. He's now at Amazon.
He's
never going to be the CEO of Apple. But that is the person that you're looking for. Not Panos, but the person who is doing that sort of thing.
And I'll give you that, because his interview with Nilay Patel on Decoder, when they were talking about Alexa Plus, which may or may not be out, may or may not be useful, but the way he talked about it and his vision for how people would use it, I would give you that. It does feel like he's thinking how the normal person will use this technology in a useful way.
Yeah.
So okay. I agree.
Sorry.
I got to do a sponsor. We're mid-conversation here, but I got to do a sponsor read, because we have one incredible sponsor down here in Florida. It's summertime. The mosquitoes are getting rough. And so here's what you need. You need Bzigo. That's how you say it. Bzigo. And this is what it is. Listen, there's so many mosquitoes here in Florida. They're probably. Do you get mosquitoes in Michigan? You get them up there too?
You know that the mosquitoes just come from here and they travel to. Wait, never mind. That's just the snowbirds. But yeah, we have a lot of mosquitoes here in Michigan.
Exactly. Well, Bzigo Iris is your smart home, which I love smart home stuff, mosquito detector. In a world where AI drives cars and automates homes, we talk about AI this whole time. This changes right now with Bzigo Iris, the first AI-powered mosquito detector. So the Bzigo Iris, it's a cutting-edge device. You can see it here if you're watching on YouTube. It uses computer vision and AI to detect, track, and pinpoint mosquitoes in real time. No more guessing, no more swatting at thin air, just a simple, precise way to take control of your space. It has laser targeting, so once a mosquito lands, Bzigo uses an eye-safe laser, that's important, eye-safe, to pinpoint its exact location. And then you can get instant alerts. You get real-time notifications via the Bzigo app. Honestly, I want this. I want to get a notification when there's a mosquito in my bedroom so you can act fast whether you're in the room or not. And of course, there's no need for toxic sprays or plugins. The smart technology is just protecting your home. You can even take it with you as you travel. I want this so bad because, listen, when you hear that buzzing at night, you're about to go to sleep. I can't go to sleep if that thing's still alive. So this is what you do. Stop losing sleep. I didn't even know that was part of the call to action. That was a perfect segue. Stop losing sleep over mosquitoes. Take back your nights with Bzigo. So go to bzigo.com/discount/buzz10 and save 10% off. That's BZIGO. Link is in the show notes. Just click it there. .com/discount/buzz10, the number 10. And you can use that code buzz10 to get 10% off. Say goodbye to itchy bites and sleepless nights. Little rhyme there for you. Thank you, Bzigo, for sponsoring this episode. I want this. I want to see every one of those little. Anyway, okay. So your article. So talking about Tim Cook and talking about your article here. Why the Tim Cook Doctrine is preventing Apple from winning at AI.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the Tim Cook Doctrine,
Stephen? You know.
I know. Okay. I want you to tell our listeners.
The Tim Cook. It was like 2009. So this was before Tim Cook was CEO, and he was on an earnings call or whatever, and he basically said, we believe that we should own or control all of the primary technology in our devices, hence the name of our show, right? Exactly. Yeah. And it's amazing to me the number of people who misquote that as the core technology. John Gruber on our show had to we had corrected him. I only corrected him because it's literally the name of our show.
Our name, yeah.
But I believe that has been a hindrance in Apple's pursuit of AI, because I was at WWDC when they rolled out Apple Intelligence and said in briefings where they talked to us about the on-device stuff and the private cloud compute and how they're going to send some things to ChatGPT. But do you remember when that rolled out where it warned you every time it's going to send to ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
And so I think that mentality worked really well when it came to Apple Silicon, which is a friggin' marvel. Apple Silicon, I remember. It's actually bad. Listeners, I'm just going to confess something right here. The number of times I've written an article about how Apple just released a device with an M1 or then the M2, and that they're literally just showing off. Yeah. The last time I wrote it, I'm like, oh crap. I've actually talked about this 5 times, but it's true. These devices are insane.
Yeah.
And it's because Apple controls from beginning to end. And that mentality goes way back for Apple because of the number of times that they found themselves at the mercy of people who had control over them because they needed them, whether that was Adobe or Microsoft. Those are the two most obvious examples, right? Yeah. Microsoft could have literally just killed Apple. They could have. They could have been like, no, we're not making our software available. No, we're just not going to do it. Same thing with Adobe. If Adobe's like, we're not doing they would have lost the main market share of creative type people at the time.
Right.
That would have just been devastating. The reason Microsoft actually couldn't do that is because it would have been anti-competitive, and they would have gotten into huge trouble for doing that. Right. So they actually did need a viable competitor in order to not be a monopoly. I mean, it turned out they were anyway, but they didn't kill Apple. Thankfully, we're real happy about that. So they've had this mentality of that, and it has served them very, very well. But in this case, I think Apple should stop. First of all, they've spent whatever amount of time on this, and it's still just as bad, right? The opening line of my article is like, right, Apple has a problem, and it's not just that Siri's still just as dumb, right? But it is still just as dumb as it's ever been. And there's no one who has ever thought, I mean, let's be honest, Siri's good at two things. It is very good at setting a timer on your watch if you only want one.
Right.
And the killer app is just setting reminders.
That's it.
Everyone I talk to is like, oh, Siri, that's that reminders app. Like people just think that's what but there is literally like no better tech stack workflow between just like raising your watch and be like, remind me in 20 minutes to do a thing. Like, like, thank you. Solved problem.
Did you know you could set a timer without saying set a timer?
Yeah, I learned that from you actually.
Oh,
you can just pick up your watch and be like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it'll just do it.
Zero friction.
I do that now. My family's like,
what are you saying? Who are you talking
nothing. Dad is in the kitchen just saying 5 minutes. So I don't know if it's a bad sign. It's very ominous. But like I think though that Apple should stop trying to figure out how to build AI and just focus on building the best platform where people use AI. And to be clear, I don't think I was definitely not the first person to have this thought, but it came to me more concretely as I was like thinking this through. I think I first heard Ben Thompson talking about this on it was either on, I don't know if it was on Dithering or if it was in one of his Stratechery articles or the Sharp Tech podcast he does with Andrew Sharp. But this idea that Apple's thing that it's best at, the iPhone is its thing. It is the iPhone company. Everything else, we love the Mac. I love my iPad, but the iPhone is Apple's biggest business. It's the most important consumer tech product. And literally the only thing that could potentially surpass it is AI. And Apple should make sure that the iPhone is the absolute best place to use AI products. It just turns out that it is not very good at building AI products. It's just not. It is not good at it. And if it wants to make Siri an incredible voice-powered AI assistant, I think that that's a worthwhile cause. I think it should just figure out a way to incorporate. I mean, the obvious candidate is Llama because it's open source, but it's never going to use Llama because it's from Meta.
Well, I think Apple could have made a bunch of great features into the iPhone now with their LLMs, but maybe they're being so averse to unpolished products that they haven't want to do it. But since I put the macOS Tahoe beta on my MacBook Air, I'm running it on iPhone, not the main one, but like the Apple models, action, and shortcuts, it's actually pretty good. And I'm going to build so many stinking shortcuts out of that model that are useful to people that they could have just built it into the apps now. Like if I use the recipe example, they could have used their on-device model to just say, pull the pertinent information out of this recipe on this page in Safari. That could have been just a feature in Safari. They could have said it was AI, that it's using their models. That would have been a win. They could have said, here's the voice memos app, but if you turn this feature on, or maybe we have a different app that's like AI voice memos, it could have had a full transcription of your voice memo and given you a summary and bullet points. Like there's entire companies like Plod AI and the Bee, whatever, that Joanna Stern tested recording her voice for an entire day. Like there's entire product lines right now because Apple didn't build that feature into the iPhone. And they probably could have done it last year. They probably could have said iOS 18, the voice memos app. Now you can talk to it for 30 minutes. You get a full transcript of that voice memo and you get a summary with key takeaways. Like that was features in Apple Intelligence last year, but because again they don't have someone thinking about the product, like how is someone actually going to use this, they've hidden it away in writing tools that probably 90% of iPhone users have no idea where that even is or how to access it or what to do with it. So if they could have built it into voice memos, they could have built it into Safari. They could have built just better to basically all the AI companies that are just out there now, like Clips. They have an app called Clips that's literally supposed to be making short clips of videos. They probably could have used their own models to say, hey, give us a 10-minute video on your iPhone and we'll cut it up into vertical videos and put animated captions on it. Like, entire businesses built on that right now that Apple probably could have done a year ago. And that, I think, would have made them put them more in the conversation of talking about all these AI features and stuff. So, yeah. Sorry, my soapbox. I didn't realize I had one.
It's great. I just think like Apple should, I do think in this case, they're sort of biased towards owning and controlling it all is what's holding them back from delivering the best experience for customers. And here's the thing. Apple thinks that the best experience for its customers is the most private, most whatever version of it. I think we've seen most people just don't care about it when it comes to this sort of thing. Like people just aren't. Now, that doesn't mean Apple should just give up on that. If they could figure out a way to bring the best of both worlds. But what they shouldn't be afraid of is like letting people have the choice. Like if people just want to put their, for example, like going through some of the health stuff, the thing that ChatGPT is stinking amazing at is I can take a screenshot of a bunch of test results and be like, tell me what this means. I had to go to the doctor and have some tests run recently, and our healthcare system has an app you can log into, and I could actually see the results before the doctor came back into the room to talk to me about the results, right? And I screenshotted them, I dumped them into ChatGPT, and I was like, tell me what this means. And it's like, well, this is elevated, so that's probably this, and this is fine, and this is whatever, and it's probably this cause and whatever.
Right.
Like it was amazing. And then the doctor walked in and is like, oh, this is elevated, so it's probably this, and this is like, it's like, I said, did you just use ChatGPT? Come on, dude, what am I paying you for?
Wait a minute.
But the point was like, Apple would be like, dude, you're sending your personal health information to stinking ChatGPT. And I'm like, yep, I'm cool. Like it's fine. Like, what are you gonna do with my health information?
But listen, this is the economy of YouTube. This is products. Like when people get value from something, they'll make whatever trade-offs is necessary to attain that value. Like when it comes to products, will they pay a certain amount of money for whatever value this product gives? And will someone trade their privacy and information if a product gives them extreme value? For you, ChatGPT, and I think for a lot of people, it's a no-brainer. I get so much value from this that I don't care, or I am making the conscious decision to just give them my information. Like if you provide value. And that's where I think Apple has not provided value for Apple Intelligence. Now, visual intelligence with iOS 26, you could take a screenshot, and if there's a date and time in the screenshot, you can add it to your calendar. Cool. Like I've had a shortcut that's done that for 2 years. But like that can be a valuable feature. But there's just so many other places. Like Apple just needs to look at all the AI companies that have popped up in the last 2 years, and they can probably deliver all those features built in with their models or private cloud compute, and that would immediately put them, help them catch up to what's going on out there. So anyway, that's what I think. All right, now we got to do a real lightning round. But that was great. That was great. Speaking of AI, Meta is going all in. Meta hires Jason Wei and Youngwon Chung from OpenAI. They are poaching more AI researchers for their Superintelligence group. And so if there's one company that's going to be doing AI stuff, whether it's valuable or not, it's Meta. They're doing it, whatever that is. Apple, I just want to mention 81 Emmy Award nominations. Severance nominated for 27 Emmys. That's why I'm wearing my scary number shirt from Basic Apple Guy, hence Severance. So lots of Emmys there. Apple's going back to not having there's a picture in there.
Did you notice that like all of the almost all of the guest appearance nominees for like the best comedic guest appearance were all the studio?
All the studio.
There's like maybe 2 that weren't, but like it's like
Martin Scorsese. Everybody.
It's like, well, I almost won an Emmy, but I had to go up against Martin Scorsese
for a guest appearance.
Yeah, for a guest appearance.
Yeah. But honestly, well deserved, because all those episodes are great. Public betas, I know that rumors were it might come out this week, but probably not. Probably next week. So if you're looking for the public betas, probably coming next week, maybe July 23rd, 24th. I have a video with 100 features of iOS 26. Whenever that public beta drops, just be on the lookout because I'm.
So you were just trying to outdo Joanna Stern, who was trying to do like 26 features of iOS 26.
She's actually on book leave. I saw she posted that she's trying to write a book, and so she's I signed up for her newsletter because she's.
I was wondering though, because her book is about how she let AI make all of her decisions. So did the AI just post that and it's like nothing to worry about? Joanna Stern is fine. She's on book leave right now. You're not going to hear from her from a while, but don't anybody worry. The AI has it under control.
Joanna Bot.
Yeah.
Is it Joanna Bot? Google announced that the Pixel 10 and Pixel Watch 4 event is August 20th. So we'll see the next Pixel things then. Maybe a new Fold. So there you go. If you're interested in that, I'm interested in these folds now. So I'm curious if Pixel's going to do a fold. The problem is I've been all Apple on my YouTube channel, and so none of these companies will talk to me about Android phones. So I got
also that like all of those foldable devices, they run Android, so you're not going to want to use them. And I'm not saying Android is bad, like to the world. Please don't, whatever. But Steven, you're not going to use them. So let's just be honest.
So real quick, someone posted on Threads because they had the Z Fold 7. And they were holding the phone folded open. They were like, "Can your iPhone do this?" And it had YouTube on one side and like something on the right side. And it's like, okay, dumb question. Like, no, it can't do that because it only has one screen. And so I was going to do a smart reply, and I was going to be like, "Oh yeah, well, can your phone do this?" And I was going to run a shortcut that I have that runs the movie database things, so I could search for a movie. It finds where to stream it and then creates a note. And I literally posted it, and then 2 seconds later I deleted it because I was like, well, I don't know that if you just ask Gemini, it might give you that same information. Like if you ask it, where can I stream Dune Part 2? It might just tell you and give you the link. So maybe, I just don't know. And so I feel like for my own snarky responses, I need to try one of these phones and see how much can it actually do. So I'm
doing
not
it for the threads.
Yeah, do it for the threads. Oh, this is a sad news, but I actually heard this was coming. Belkin is discontinuing its smart home device line. So the Belkin Wemo devices, they had made smart switches, they had made smart plugs, they had one of the few HomeKit secure video doorbell cameras. They're all done. And January 2026, these devices will stop working unless you set them up with HomeKit, which is one of the wonderful things about HomeKit is that even when a company totally goes under and no longer exists, if the device has HomeKit support, you can still use it for as long as you want. But yeah, no more Wemo in the smart home world.
I think that there should be a law, and I never say that, but I think there should be a law that if you roll out a smart device,
you can't go out of business.
It's fine that devices have like a lifespan. Well, no, you have to figure out a way to continue to support the device for some reasonable amount of time, because this is about to happen to our Nest thermostat. The first and second gen Nest thermostats are no longer going to work with the Nest app or the Google Home app after like October 20 something. There's no difference. Like it works fine. A thermostat in your home should not be dependent on whether or not, of course this is Google at this point, so I should have known, but it wasn't Google when I bought it. Okay.
Remember Allo, the chat app?
No, I don't, but point taken.
Killed by Google.com.
But I feel like you shouldn't be in the, why? Just let us keep a old version. I understand they can't continue to support like maybe an old version of an app forever, right? But like there should be no, so the thermostat will continue to work apparently, but it will not have any, like the killer feature is I can be like, we're headed home from Florida and we're now at the border. Let me like turn on the air conditioning so that the house isn't 87 degrees when we get home. You won't be able to access any of it from the app. None of it from the app. You won't be able to control it. It won't have access to Wi-Fi. So you won't even get alerts saying like change your filter and stuff like that. Why? Like that is insane to me that companies do that. It's like, but so at least with the ones you were just talking about, if you connect them to HomeKit, you can keep using them.
Right.
That's great. But don't these companies know that they are just I'm going to write this down. They're just defeating themselves. The number of things I write down, I'm like, I should write about that. And then I don't. It's a very long list.
Well, you got ideas for days.
But I do like that. But the worst thing is when I'm like, what did we talk about? And then like I have to listen to the whole podcast, but I don't remember that's what I want to do. Anyway.
You should just search for in the transcript. I should write an article about this.
But I don't always say it. I sometimes just write it, and so I don't know. But anyway, I just think like they are defeating their own brand and marketing by killing off this stuff because it's like we want you to buy this thing. but in 7 years you won't be able to use it anymore. Like no one wants to, because
Yeah.
doorbells and thermostats are not a thing like an iPhone. An iPhone, I'm like, fine, if it dies in a year, I'm going to have a new one anyway. I don't care.
Right.
AirPods, I assume that I'm going to lose one of them in the toilet one of these days, and I'll have to buy a new pair at some point. But a thermostat, I never want to buy another thermostat.
Right. Well, and that's like I have the Ecobee that I bought when we moved into this house 3 years ago, and there's been newer ones that come out, but because it's HomeKit, like I don't need to worry about what Ecobee could go out of business tomorrow, and I'm good. And I think Matter is that answer for like the whole smart home ecosystem. So if you get a Matter device now, it should work with whatever system you have. But yeah, I get it. Speaking of smart home, all the rumors about a smart home hub from Apple, apparently it's been delayed again, and we might not see it until next year, 2026. This is from Mark Gurman, mostly because of the voice assistant on the thing. Probably still sucks. So anyway, yeah. I'm just so mad because I want this thing so bad.
Well, I'm interested, but I'm not optimistic that this is what you really want.
Probably not, but I like the idea of it.
But
so we'll see.
If they make this thing over here, this Pixel tablet with the base that I
with
have,
the base thing?
that'd be perfect because
That'd be perfect.
it has the thing that the Apple doesn't seem to want to do. But that's when you put it on there, it acts like any of their Google Hub things.
Yeah.
That was the worst description of anything.
No, I get it. It's the tablet.
And if you take it off, it's a tablet, and if you put it on, it's the device. But Apple's not going to do that. They're not going to give you an iPad with a base stand, which they should.
Maybe the iPhone 17 colors leaked. Maybe the iPhone 17 Pro is going to have an orange color as like the highlight color, and then a light blue, like the sky blue M4 MacBook Air. I'm probably not going to buy an orange phone. I'll be real, but that's just
I'm not going to buy that. If that's,
I'll get the blue. I'll get the blue one.
But
what would you get?
Is that those are the Pro colors?
Supposedly the Pro will have the regular space black, the silver, a light blue, and an orange.
There's no chance that those are the colors of the
What color would you get
Pro.
if those were the 4?
I might go to white.
Yeah, I do like the white. I've had it for a couple of years. It's nice.
Yeah, I like white and black. I probably would get the white.
Yeah, or I mean, I'll see how the light blue. I had that Sierra blue. I think it was the iPhone 13 Pro. That was a nice blue, but it was it was more blue than like the wispy, ink cartridges low blue.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to mention this because my son was excited for the Zelda live action movie. They announced the actors who will be playing Zelda and Link. They are, I need to reload without content blockers because it won't load the picture. But this was posted, the Nintendo account on X posted this. But yeah, those are the actors for Link and Zelda in the live action movie coming up. I'm excited. Oh, I'll see that.
Have you ever heard of either of them?
No, which I think is great, Yeah,
Okay.
that's cool. But yeah, no, that's them. Last thing I want to mention, Google announced a bunch of NotebookLMs, and they have like already made NotebookLMs if you want to do research or something. And so I tried the Shakespeare one. So this NotebookLM is completely free to use. You just log in with your Google account. And it basically has study guides for all of Shakespeare's works. Plus it has a chatbot where you can ask it questions. It was actually really cool and actually pretty useful. And so I've not used NotebookLM for anything. I just knew it as like the podcast generating machine from Google. But this, I don't know, it's pretty cool and it's actually pretty useful. And my oldest son is actually going to be studying a lot of Shakespeare this year. Hopefully he actually reads the plays rather than just use this tool, but it's there. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
We should do a NotebookLM for this podcast so people can just search and you can see what articles you need to write.
I would love that.
Yeah,
Can you
that'd be
create me a
great.
shortcut that just keeps pinging it and sends me a notification when I mention that?
That's a pretty good idea.
See,
All right.
these are the things that Apple should
That's
be
it.
solving.
That's it. All right, quick personal tech food tracking apps. I asked on Threads and all the social medias what everybody uses for food trackers. And I said, that's not MyFitnessPal.
Yeah. I want to understand. That's the part. Did you ever respond to my question or did you just decide
Yeah,
to
I did. I did.
Apparently I checked Threads. I leave questions out there on Threads and then never go back and see if someone responded.
And then don't see. I asked because I've used MyFitnessPal in the past and something about the UI and how it worked. I'm sure you get used to it and you learn whatever, but I was just not I don't know. I just didn't jive and I didn't end up actually tracking things and I couldn't get in and out there easily, in and out of the app easily. So what I did was I tried Food Nom because that's what a lot of people suggested. Try the Food Nom app. And I love it. I absolutely love this app. It's beautifully designed. It's a single developer. It has a little AI tool So you can actually go in there and ask or type like it's just random words, and it'll use FoodNom AI to actually ascertain what you're trying to tell it. You can even send it a picture, and FoodNom's AI will figure it out. And the best part, it has so many shortcuts actions. It has all the shortcuts actions, and so I've already created some there, and you can like quickly track your previous meals. You can quickly do like a FoodNom search with AI, and it's wonderful. So like so many more shortcuts actions than what I'm just showing there. But I've been using FoodNoms. But you use MyFitnessPal like full
Yeah,
stop?
but so your reason for not wanting to use it was just you didn't like the UI.
I had
But
tried to use it before, like full on. I downloaded it, installed it, was trying to track it, and something about I don't know if it was. And again, I haven't tried it in the last year probably, but something about the UI just was not. And I feel like the subscription is kind of pricey, isn't it?
I mean, was it like $80 a year or something? Maybe.
$80 a year, $20 a month. Yeah.
Wait.
So
Well, okay. I'm sorry. The one I'm paying for is $100 a year or $8 a month.
oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's just
And I
well,
don't
and it does
care.
look
I don't know
nicely
why
done.
I'm actually paying for it because I'm not sure if there's anything I need. Like I don't know for sure if there's anything I
Yeah.
need in this here, because what I basically do with it is I track all the food and I track my weight on it. And the reason I like it is it can do what you just described, where you can just take a picture of your plate and it will tell you
Yeah.
what all the things are, and then you can just add it to that way. Or what I do a lot is you can scan the barcode on a package,
Yeah.
and it'll put that in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm just in it, and it just has been fantastic. I don't know that it's the best, but I'm not going to. If you have
No, I'm
a
not gonna
lot of
switch. No,
history
don't
and something you're not
switch.
about to switch, there's
No,
no
no,
way.
no.
But I just didn't know why you didn't like it. So that was because you're like, I'm like, did he have a bad experience with it one time? Did it
Not a
serve him
bad
some bad
experience.
pudding or something? Or
It was just too it was too much friction for me, and I never stuck with it. And maybe it's because I didn't have enough systems and enough like repeatable meals and foods in there. Follow up Food Noms is $6 a month or $40 a year. So that's the cost for that. So I mean, it is cheaper. That's not exactly why I did it, but I did really like just the UI and the design and quickly seeing this stuff at the top. I don't know. And it has the barcode scanner, like you're saying. So I've been scanning foods. You can also just like scan a nutrition label. So if it can't find the barcode, you just point it at the nutrition label and it'll fill out all the information visually. And I've done that a couple times. So a bunch of people said Food Noms. There were also people saying Lose It, and there were some other ones. But I'm gonna stick with Food Noms for a while because I'm liking it. So we'll see.
the only thing the one thing I did like about, and maybe I'm sure they probably all do this, so it's fine. But I don't care about calories. It doesn't matter to me at this point. And it'll track my steps too. Great. I have like now 5 apps that are all tracking all of these things, right? Because the Withings apps will track some of this stuff that I have to
Right.
do, because I have like that's the blood pressure cuff and thermometer and scale that we have. So like that goes. So when I go into Apple Health, you know when you go to like a category of a thing.
Yeah.
So let's say your weight. You track your weight every day, and you go into that, and then you can click See All Data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I have like 4 entries because it's like it pulled it from the
Right.
Withings app. It also pulled it from my
Yes.
manual entry, but those are exactly the same because I just went from the scale and typed it in. And
Yeah.
it's so like all of this stuff is syncing, which is wonderful. I love that it'll do all that. But I can tell it like I can't have my limit for this thing is lower. So it'll tell me like what percentage, because otherwise it just does it based on a standard adult diet or whatever. So you
Right,
can like
right.
tell it like I don't want to have this, right? So it was very customizable, I guess is what I'm trying to say, which I
Yeah.
really appreciated. So
Well, and that's what Food Noms, when you first install it, you can give it access to your Apple Health data, or you can just put in your like height, weight, and all of that. And you tell it what your goal is. And I do want it to start tracking calories. And so it'll automatically give you a daily calorie goal depending on what you're trying to accomplish, like what you're trying to do. So it had this. So anyway, we'll follow up maybe in a couple months and I'll see how it's been going. But I really like Food Noms. It's a cool app, and there are a bunch of other suggestions. But if you have a favorite food tracking app and you've not left us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcast, you can do that this week. Do it right now. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. We appreciate it. Let us know what is your food tracking app, or do you use Spaces and do you know what that is? You can put that in the 5-star review as well. We love if you watch the show on youtube.com/@primarytechshow, You could just video versions there. And if you support the show, here's the crazy part. You support us with $5 a month or $50 a year. You get an ad-free version of the show. You get a bonus episode every week. You get our daily Monday through Friday news show, the top headlines in just a few minutes. That's all part of the same thing. You get an unedited version of the recording if you want just like the full recording, listen to the raw edit. And I think you get other benefits. I can't even remember now. But there's so many.
You get to listen to us talk about food tracking. That's not a benefit.
Yeah,
Never
exactly.
mind. We don't make you pay for that.
No. But all of that. So if you can, we'd love if you support the show. Join.primarytech.fm, or you can support us directly in Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.